Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Adult Faves. I'm Susan Maguire, Senior Editor, Collection Management and Library Outreach for Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some details, technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by typing the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble accessing these materials, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a button for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the Captions icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. From there, you can select Show or Hide Captions from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting Caption Settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Emily Ludloff, Library Marketing Specialist at Sourcebooks, Melissa Croce, Senior Marketing Manager at Simon Schuster, Maddie Hughes, Associate Manager at Disney Publishing, Brianna Cornell, Sales Manager at Shadow Mountain Publishing, and Annie Mazes, Associate Director of Library Marketing at Hachette. First, we'll hear from Emily Ludloff. Emily is a library marketing specialist at Sourcebooks. She previously worked as a digital marketer with some of the top names in the music industry in Nashville, Tennessee, but ultimately could not resist the pull of her first love, books. Thanks for joining us, Emily.
Hello, hello. I'm so happy to be here today and kick off today's Adult Faves webinar with Sourcebooks. Next slide, please. My name is Emily Ludloff, and I'm Library Marketing Specialist at Sourcebooks. You can follow us on social media for up-to-date information, galleys, and free resources. And please feel free to email me with any questions you may have. Now, with no further ado, on to the books. Next slide. All right, from New York Times bestselling author of Sold on a Monday comes The Girls of Good Fortune. It is Oregon, 1888. Amid the subterranean labyrinth of Portland's Shanghai tunnels, a woman awakens, disoriented in a dank underground cell. Perplexed by the male disguise she's wearing, she quickly realizes what's happened. She has been shanghaied. She is sea-bound to work as forced labor. While struggling to recall the twisting paths that led to her kidnapping, from serving as a maid for the family of a dubious mayor to delving into the shocking case of a gold miner's massacre, she desperately tries to escape so she can return to her young daughter, left in danger in a place where unearthed secrets can prove even more deadly than the dark recesses of Chinatown. Next slide, please. All right, from instant New York Times bestselling author Julie Clark comes The Ghostwriter and follows ghostwriter Olivia Dumont, who has spent her entire professional life hiding the fact that she is the only child of legendary horror author Vincent Taylor, famous not only for his novels, but for being the prime suspect in the brutal slaying of his older brother and younger sister in 1975. Olivia is on the brink of financial ruin when she is called to ghostwrite her father's last book. With no other jobs on the horizon, Olivia accepts, assuming it's her father's next horror novel. What she doesn't know, though, is that she will be forced to reckon with her father and the ghosts that live at the center of her family. Because after 50 years of silence, Vincent Taylor is finally ready to talk about that night in 1975. Next slide, please. Julie Tudor is not a psychopath. Julie Tudor is 49 and has it all: a fantastic job, well-maintained spreadsheets are the linchpin of an efficient office, a beautiful house, some may wonder how she got the money for it, but nothing has been proven, and the man of her dreams, This too has not been proven. Sean is 25 and the love of Julie's life. The only problem is he thinks he's in love with someone else. But Julie has found herself in a similar situation before, and if there's one thing that Julie knows, it's how to get rid of the competition. After all, what's a little murder in the name of true love? Next slide, please. A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic is the first in a heartwarming, cozy fantasy series by Jay Penner. In the heart of Adena Shire, where elfish enchantments and dwarven delights rule, human confectioner Arletta Starstone works twice as hard at perfecting her unique blend of baking and apothecary herbs. So, when an orc neighbor secretly enters her creation into the prestigious elven baking battle, Arletta faces a dilemma. Being magicless, her participation in the competition could draw more scowls than smiles. If Arletta wants to prove her talent and establish her culinary reputation, this human will need more than just her pastry craft to sweeten the odds. While competing, she'll set off on a journey of mouth-watering pastries, self-discovery, heartwarming friendships, and romance, while questioning whether winning the baking battle is the true prize. Next slide, please. All right, #1 New York Times bestselling author Frida McFadden delivers a dark thriller about a rental gone wrong in The Tenant. Blake Porter has been fired abruptly from his job and unable to make his mortgage payments on his new brownstone. Enter Whitney, beautiful, charming, down to earth, and looking for a room to rent. She is exactly what Blake's looking for. Or is she? Because something isn't quite right. The neighbors start treating Blake differently. The smell of decay permeates the kitchen, no matter how hard he scrubs. And Whitney claims she knows what he's done. Soon, it's obvious that danger lives right at home. And by the time Blake realizes it, it'll be far too late. He'll be dead before he realizes the trap has even been set. Next slide, please. All right, for readers of Louise Penny comes First Lady of Iceland, Eliza Reid's debut mystery novel, Death on the Island. It is a run-of-the-mill political visit to a small community when abruptly it descends into disaster when a woman dies dramatically and mysteriously at a networking dinner in the Westman Islands. Jane, the wife of an ambassador to Iceland, finds herself trapped on the island by violent weather amidst an uneasy group of international players. And she can't help but wonder if the woman's death was truly accidental. Next slide, please. Right? How to Survive a Horror Story is a bright, biting thrill ride that begs us to contemplate how the best horror stories come to be. When legendary horror author Mortimer Queen passes away, a group of authors find themselves invited to the last will and testament reading, expecting a piece of his massive fortune for themselves. Each has their own unique connection to the literary icon, some known and some soon to be discovered, but they've all been waiting for their chance to step into the great author's shoes for some time. They enter the manor and wait for their prize. Instead, they are invited to play a game. The rules are simple. Solve the riddle and progress to the next room. If you don't, someone dies. Because each of these authors has something to hide, and Mortimer, even from the grave, always delivers the best story. Only this time, his manor will help. You see, the Queen estate was built on the bones of the family, and the house is still very, very hungry. Next slide, please. Jumping over to nonfiction, outdoorsman Mike Bezemek explores our parks from a new angle in Mysteries of the National Parks, an extraordinary collection of 40 tales from America's national parks. Some of the world's greatest mysteries can be found at national parks. Why did an ancient civilization abandon their stone city in the mountains of Colorado? Flying past Mount Rainier, did a pilot really spot 9 shiny objects that spawned the UFO craze? From an island prison in California, 3 inmates carried out an ambitious escape, but did they survive? Find all of this and more in Mysteries of the National Park. Next slide, please. Becoming a saint may sound like an unattainable goal, but lucky for you, thousands of souls have paved the way, setting a clear formula for getting the job done while also leaving a rich, disturbing history behind them. How to Be a Saint is a satirical guidebook that's part history lesson, part sacrilege, and an entirely good time that explores the wild stories of saints and the bizarrely bureaucratic process of canonization, leading readers on a journey from death to eternal fame and glory. Next slide, please. Moving over to romance. When obituary writer Nadine learns that famous and reclusive author Dot has died, she doesn't hesitate to run the obituary, only to discover that Dot is very much alive. Her screw-up has bought rival Wesley Chen no end of joy, but the renewed interest in Dot has also served as chatter about a mysterious past scandal. At first, Dot refuses to speak to either of the squabbling journalists, but when Dot dies for real, the estate executor allows West and Nadine access to Dot's sprawling wonderland of a mansion to seek the answer. And maybe, just maybe, under the rubble of all those could have beens, they'll uncover more than the secrets of Dot's long ago scandal. And Lady Death will finally embrace what she's wanted from life all along. Next slide, please. All right, Crossing Paths is a rollicking and occasionally dangerous romance by beloved author Katie Ruggles and follows Nora Pax, who has loved working behind the scenes for her family's bounty hunting business. Unlike her sister, she enjoys chasing down the skip from the safety of her laptop. Lately, however, her overworked sisters have needed help out in the field. She has all the computer skills she could want, but her fighting technique is lacking. So she dredges up her courage to ask surly MMA expert Dashiell Porter to teach her everything she needs to know. Yet as the two throw punches and awkwardly flirt, vultures circle. Every criminal in town has turned against the Pax girls, and they're willing to hit them where they're supposedly weakest, Nora. To keep herself and her family safe, Nora will need every new skill that Dash teaches her, as well as help from the man himself. Good thing that Dash is ready to do whatever it takes to protect the gentle yet fierce bounty hunter who has stole his heart. Next slide, please. And last but certainly not least is King of Envy, which is the 5th book in the deliciously steamy, diverse Kings of Sin series from the #1 New York Times bestseller, Anna Wong, and follows Vuk, who is notorious for shunning human interactions. The scarred billionaire rarely talks, and he has no interest in relationships outside his small but trusted circle. His only exception is model Ayana, who just so happens to be engaged to his oldest friend. But what Ayana is keeping from everyone is that the engagement is only a business arrangement. Her fiance gets his inheritance when they marry, and she gets the money she needs to leave her abusive modeling agency. Their arrangement should be easy, except she finds herself increasingly drawn to her fiance's best man, Buck, but knows she should stay away. But when her wedding is thrown into chaos, he's the only person who makes her feel safe until his past catches up with them and threatens everything that they love. Next slide, please. Okay, and that's all the books I have for you today, but please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Emily. Next, we'll hear from Melissa Croce. Melissa is the Senior Marketing Manager for Adult Library Titles at Simon & Schuster. She's been with the company since 2020, and when she's not reading everything from romance novels to poetry to narrative nonfiction, she likes to root for her many favorite hockey teams, play D&D, and watch K-dramas. Thanks for being here today, Melissa.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I am so excited to talk to you about titles that are coming out this summer that have the potential to be yours and your patrons' next favorite. Next. All right, new from your favorite authors. Cry Havoc from the #1 New York Times bestselling author Jack Carr. He takes it all back to where it began with his explosive new thriller, which introduces young Navy SEAL Tom Reese, a man torn between the blurred lines and allegiances of the military and the increasingly murky world of intelligence. And Don't Let Him In is the latest from #1 New York Times bestseller Lisa Jewell. In this thriller, 3 women, Nina, a recent widow, Ash, Nina's adult daughter, and Martha, a young wife and mother, are all connected by one man, the charismatic Nick Radcliffe. This connection leads them on a collision course with a shocking truth that is far darker than anyone could have imagined. And all three are about to wish they had heeded the same warning. Don't let him in. Next. Catfight. This fun debut follows three suburban women who use the growing hysteria around a big cat sighting to achieve their own agendas. Former zoologist Coralie King now reigns over a different sort of animal kingdom as the queen bee of Sevenoaks, a wealthy suburb of London. When her husband Adam spots a panther on the hood of his car at one of her exclusive dinner parties, Coralie sees the sighting as the perfect opportunity to revive her career and promote her own ecological endeavors. New neighbor Emma Brooks doesn't believe for a second that there's a big cat in the mist, but she's all too willing to use the concern as a distraction from her home remodel application that's been facing some scrutiny. And former punk musician Twig Dorset doesn't know what to believe. She's never thought she'd return to Sevenoaks and be living in her childhood home, but after her daughter became sick, she and her wife traded their bohemian lifestyle for the security of London suburbia. As the summer heats up, the frenzy around the big cat sighting reaches a fever pitch when gnawed bones, paw prints, and scratches are discovered. But is the real predator a big cat on the prowl, or is the true threat of the domestic variety? Next. Far and Away. Perfect strangers Lucy and Greta have agreed to a house swap, and boy, are they going to regret it. Lucy's beloved hometown of Dallas has become an unbearable snake pit after her son made a mistake that he couldn't undo. And Greta's beloved flat in Berlin is suddenly up for grabs when her husband Otto takes a dream job in Texas without even telling her. Trading Southern charm and barbecue for European sophistication and schnitzel, the two women get a lot more than just a change of scenery as they move into each other's lives, what with their husbands MIA and their children discovering secrets they can't ignore. When Greta's biggest career achievement is thrown into question and Lucy's past with a hot Viking invades her present, the two women need each other in ways they never could have imagined, and they'll each have to decide if they can ever go home again. Next. Great Black Hope. An arrest for cocaine possession on the last day of a sweltering New York summer leaves Smith, a queer Black Stanford graduate, in a state of turmoil. Pulled into the court system and mandated treatment, he finds himself in an absurd but dangerous situation. His class protects him, but his race does not. The arrest comes on the heels of the mysterious, unexpected death of his beloved roommate Elle, the daughter of a famous soul singer, and, still reeling from the tabloid spectacle, Smith flees to his hometown of Atlanta, only to buckle under the weight of expectations from his accomplished family. When he returns to New York, it's not long before he begins to lose himself to his old life, drawn back into the city's underworld, where his search for answers may end up costing him his freedom and his future. Next. All right, welcome to Murder Week. When quiet, unassuming 30-something Kath loses her mostly absentee, impulsive, thrill-seeking mother, she's ambivalent, honestly. But when she goes through her mother's things, she's perplexed to find tickets for an upcoming murder week in England's Peak District, where a whole town comes together to stage a fake murder mystery in order to attract tourism. Baffled but intrigued, Kath decides to go on the trip herself and begins a journey she never could have anticipated. Teaming up with her two cottage mates, Wyatt and Amity, both ardent mystery lovers themselves, Kath sets about solving the crime and begins to unravel shocking truths about her mother along the way. Amidst a fling with a handsome local, Kath and her irresistibly charming sleuths will find this week of fake murder might help them face up to very real crossroads in their own lives. Next. The Stolen Life of Colette Marceau. Colette has been stealing jewels for nearly as long as she can remember, following the centuries-old code of honor instilled in her by her mother Annabelle: take only from the cruel and unkind and give to those in need. Never was their family tradition more important than during the Second World War, when they worked side by side in Paris to fund the French resistance. But one night in 1942, it all goes wrong. Annabelle was arrested by the Germans, and Colette's sister, Liliane, disappeared in the chaos of the raid, along with an exquisite diamond bracelet sewn into the hem of her nightgown for safekeeping. Soon after, Annabelle was executed, and Lillian's body was found floating in the Seine, but the bracelet was nowhere to be found. 70 years later, after a successful lifetime of stealing, Colette has done her best to put her tragic past behind her. But her life begins to unravel when the long missing bracelet suddenly turns up in a museum exhibit in Boston. If Colette can discover where it's been all this time, and who owns it now, she might learn the truth about what happened to her sister. But she isn't the only one for whom the bracelet holds answers, and when someone from her childhood lays claim to the diamonds, she's forced to confront the ghosts of her past as never before. Next. All right, this is from a writer and executive producer of everyone's favorite pandemic watch, Suits. He has written a riveting and gritty legal thriller. As a disgraced lawyer with a drinking problem that he doesn't view as a problem, Jake West is coasting on what's left of his charm and money. He used to be the kind of lawyer who could convince anyone of anything, until he decided to take on his father's biggest client and prove his dad was corrupt. Now Jake finds himself almost at rock bottom, and that is before his ex-best friend is murdered, and Jake is the one who is accused of the crime. In a desperate bid to save himself, he has to sober up and search for the real killer, who he suspects might be hidden in one of the case files of his father's law firm. As he delves into the labyrinth of lies and corruption, Jake teams up with an eclectic group of equally broken people, as they all must skirt the law in order to find the proof that he needs, no matter the personal or professional cost. Next. All right, the next couple slides have books that are perfect for any collection, but particularly for Pride Month. A Family Matter is in the 1980s, readers follow young wife and mother Dawn, whose lackluster life lights up when she meets Hazel. But what can come of it when she already has a family? And 40 years later, readers meet Heron, an older man whose recent diagnosis will turn the lives of himself and his beloved daughter Maggie upside down as long-lost secrets begin to come to light. And in Work Nights, Jane is a disenchanted office worker, but there is one bright spot to her day. Madeline, the distractingly beautiful intern, who's never dated a woman before, but Jane is still committed to wooing her. Meanwhile, Jane's free-spirited roommate tries to keep her from falling for a straight girl by dragging Jane out, where she meets the decidedly uncool and morally righteous musician Addie. Caught between Addie and Madeline, Jane is pulled down a slippery path of lies and deceit, leading to a plane ticket that threatens to take everything down in one fell swoop. Next. Backhanded compliments. Sports romance meets the soulmate trope in this steamy sapphic romance about two bitter tennis rivals, perfect for fans of expiration dates and cleat cute. Juliet and Luca are rivals on the court, so when they shake hands after a match and their names appear on the other's wrists, it feels like a cruel joke. But despite their clashes, they grow closer. Their chemistry, after all, is tangible. But Luca's anxiety tells her that Juliet is just messing with her to throw her off her tennis game, and Juliet can't understand why Luca runs so hot and cold. With the pressure of the world scrutinizing their every move, they'll have to decide what's more important, being together or being number one. Midnight at the Cinema Palace. New college and graduate Midwest transplant Walter is searching for love and purpose in a city he doesn't realize is fading away. San Francisco in 1993. Walter is drawn from his shell when he meets Carrie and Sasha, a couple whose lives who live beyond the boundaries of gender and sexuality, and whose love of cinema rivals Walter's own. As the three embark on adventures across the city, their friendship evolves in unexpected ways. And when Walter befriends Lawrence, a filmmaker and former child actor living with HIV, they pursue a film project of their own with hilarious and tragic results. And Palm Meridian. It is 2067. Florida is partially underwater, but even that can't bring down the residents of Palm Meridian Retirement Resort, a utopian home for women who want to revel in their twilight years. Hannah has lived there for a long time, but today is her last day. She's been diagnosed with a terminal disease, and she's opted for a medically assisted death scheduled for the next morning. Tonight, however, she and her merry band of friends plan to throw one hell of an end-of-life party. Over the course of one evening, Hannah thinks back to her kaleidoscopic life, the highs, the lows, the lost loves, and spanning over the course of both a single day and 70-odd years, Palm Meridian is full of lovable characters you will never forget. Next. All right, and to round it all off very quickly, we have nonfiction. I have two books here, both about the reproductive freedom movement. Access is about the days before Roe through the seismic impact of Dobbs, spanning 4 continents and tracing strategies across generation and borders to fight against anti-abortion measures. And Second Coming has 100 interviews with teenagers and young people. It's a cultural criticism and investigation as to how modern society shapes how young people experience sex, love, and relationships. Next. And I felt that these were important to share as it's Women's History Month. I'll Tell You When I'm Home follows Palestinian-American poet and novelist Hala Al-Yan, whose experience of motherhood via surrogacy forces her to reckon with her own past and the legacy of her family's exile and displacement, all in the name of a new future. Joy Goddess is about Alelia Walker. She is was the millionaire daughter of Madam C.J. Walker, and this biography was written by her great-granddaughter. And Wildfire Days. In the spirit of Wild and a Walk in the Park, this is a memoir of one woman's struggle to succeed as a wildland firefighter on an elite male-dominated crew as they battle some of the fiercest wildfires in the West. With wildfires becoming unfortunately more prevalent in today, I thought this was a memoir that is more relevant and vital than ever. Next. All right, we've reached the end. That's all the books I have for you. Please go to simonandschuster.net/library for more resources and recommendations for all of your needs, whether it's book clubs, library reads recommendations and picks, books like us, community reads, etc. Next. Thank you so much for having me, everybody. That's everything for me. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Next, we'll hear from Maddie Hughes. Maddie is the Associate Manager for School and Library Marketing at Disney Publishing, where she has been a part of the team since 2018. She is thrilled to be able to read and talk about children's books of all kinds as part of her job. Originally from Denver, Colorado, Maddie is now based in LA, where she loves to hike, knit, and of course, visit her local library. The floor is yours, Maddie.
Thanks, Susan. And also just add, I also like to talk about adult books. So I'm very excited to be here today to share some of these adult titles with you as well. Next slide. First up, National Geographic Backyard Guide to Wild Edible Plants. Curious about foraging but don't know where to start? Familiar with local wild plants but looking for ideas on how to use them? This is the perfect guide for both beginner and experienced harvesters, since in addition to providing a comprehensive guide to over 100 common edible wild plants, there are over 600 ideas and recipes to bring the wild into the kitchen. Next slide. This is just a spread showing these really well laid out interiors. Next slide. Next, we have an all-new edition of Camp, Life, Leadership, and Why You Never Stop Paddling. Updated and expanded for its 20th anniversary, Camp is former Disney CEO Michael Eisner's coming-of-age story about his time at summer camp and how the indispensable lessons he learned there continue to influence him in business and in life. Next slide. I'm so excited to share the first book in the all-new Golden Girls Cozy Mystery series, Murder by Cheesecake. I feel like this is just a perfect merger of two great concepts, Cozy Mysteries and Golden Girls. When Dorothy's obnoxious date is found dead in a hotel freezer, it not only ruins a gorgeous cheesecake, but threatens the elaborate St. Olaf-style wedding Rose is hosting. With every guest a suspect, especially Dorothy, and a marriage on the line, the four besties must ID the real killer, get the should-be-happy couple down the aisle, and make sure nobody from St. Olaf gets lost in the wilds of Miami. It's up to the Golden Girls to sleuth out a way for friendship and love to win the day. Next slide. Wow, You Look Terrible, How to Parent Less and Live More is a comedic guide for modern parents to reclaim the time, money, and sanity they have lost since having kids. Danny Ricker, a co-head writer of Jimmy Kimmel Live and parent of two, shares his revolutionary child-rearing techniques, including how to reclaim your time by throwing your kid's entire birthday party in 17 minutes, in this laugh-out-loud funny guide that is sure to be a hit with parents of young children. Next slide. Tell Them You Lied is a thriller by debut author Laura Leffler set in the New York art world in 2001. When Anna first met Willa at art school, she was an awkward outsider who was captivated by Willa's confidence and artistry. 5 years later, the two are living as artists in New York, but Anna has grown tired of Willa's endlessly charmed life. So she plans a staged mugging, a dark prank that is supposed to restore the balance between the two and send Willa running back to Anna for comfort. But when it merges with the tragedy of September 11th and Willa disappears, Anna has to wonder if she is to blame or if Willa has been one step ahead of her the whole time. Next slide. I'm also so excited to share that the next book in the Meant to Be collection is from bestselling author Jessie Q. Sutanto, author of Dial A for Aunties. In Worth Fighting For, Disney's Mulan is reimagined as a contemporary romance about family expectations, mistaken identity, and high-stakes mergers of both business and the heart. And just as a reminder, we have book club kits for every one of our Meant to Be series titles, which are available on our website. Next slide. In The Life of Singleton, From Boys in the Hood to Snowfall, journalist Thomas Golianopoulos reports on the legendary filmmaker John Daniel Singleton, from his time as a driven film student at USC to his last days on the Costa Rica set of Snowfall. Singleton was an American original, a Hollywood maverick, and a South Central icon. No one repped LA harder than him. He created indelible moments on the screen and inspired and mentored a generation of filmmakers. Featuring nearly 400 original interviews and sharp analysis, The Life of Singleton will take readers behind the scenes of the filmmaker's work and unwrap the complex man behind it. Next slide. Part memoir, part food history, and part cultural critique, Bib Country explores writer Lene O'Neill's journey as she details 7 generations of her family history against the sweep of American history, using, in part, the gourmet lettuce named for the Kentucky Bib family of enslavers as her unlikely lens. The author discovered that she is a direct descendant of an enslaved woman and one of her enslavers on the Bib plantation, and this book explores a complicated family history and the lasting scars of slavery in America. Next slide. The Chancellor's Mansion was built by William Townsend McCown, a public servant and abolitionist in New York City. The once grand house on a hill in Oyster Bay, Long Island, had been abandoned for years. Many who would have torn the property down and built something new on the land. But Jamie and France Artie realized that the house had more to give. The couple purchased the home, moved in, and began period-specific renovations at the height of the pandemic, with their parents and 3 young children in tow. While renovating, Jamie learned that the Chancellor had a Black servant by the name of Sophia Moore. Her headstone reads, born a slave in the state of New Jersey, bought her freedom and was for 25 years a faithful friend and servant to the McCown family. She is buried alongside the Chancellor and his family, unusual for the time. The Chancellor's Mansion is not only an incredible historical play-by-play, but a story of a house, the many families who have occupied it, and what it means to create a home. Next slide. Upstanding Young Man by Sharon Doring is a pulse-pounding thriller with complicated family dynamics, perfect for fans of domestic suspense writers like Mary Kubica and Jennifer Hilliard. Meg Hart has taken great pains to create her perfect all-American family. It looks effortless, but that's because she's been smart about it. However, on a brisk spring morning, weeks before his graduation, her son McLean goes missing. And as the investigation deepens, the police zero in on her as the perfect suspect. Tragedy has struck the family before, and all signs suggest that she is the source. Add to her elusive husband's strange behavior and the inconsistencies in her story, it becomes clear that Meg has plenty to hide. Alternating between Meg's perspective in the initial days of the investigation and McLean's in the hours leading up to his disappearance, this novel is packed with relentless tension and short, fast-paced chapters that will keep readers up all night. And this is just a temporary cover, but we will have a much more intriguing cover to come. Next slide. And finally, I just wanted to share a sneak peek ahead at some of our fall titles. Jane Kennedy is one of the most photographed, glamorous, and intriguing women ever to set foot in Hollywood. Perhaps best known for her groundbreaking work in 1978 to 1980 on the Emmy Award-winning CBS program, The NFL Today, she's an icon and trailblazer in every sense of the word. Tracing her upbringing in Ohio and her journey shattering glass ceilings in American contemporary culture, Plain Jane is a breathtaking story of endurance, survival, and achievement. After more than 20 years spent uncovering the secrets of the Blue Zones, the happiest and healthiest places around the world, the #1 New York Times bestselling author and Emmy Award-winning host of Netflix's Live to 100, Dan Buettner puts the lessons he's learned into practice. This mouthwatering cookbook features 100 quick and easy one-pot and one-pan plant-based recipes inspired by the Blue Zones, many made in 30 minutes or less. And lastly, I'm excited to say that The Orville, Sympathy for the Devil, which has up till now only been available as an ebook, is now being published in paperback. This original novella is set in season 3 of the TV series, with new and exclusive content straight from the creator, Seth MacFarlane. Next slide. That's all from me. If you need to get in touch, please feel free to reach out via email. And we also have several of these titles and other digital galleys available for request on NetGalley and Edelweiss. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Maddie. Next, we'll hear from Brianna Cornell. Bree is not at all surprised that her love for libraries and cats led her to a career in publishing. She holds a bachelor's degree in English from Weber State University and serves as sales manager at Shadow Mountain Publishing. Take it away, Bree.
Hi everyone, it is such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for attending. We really appreciate it. I'm excited to be sharing Shadow Mountain's spring adult releases, so I'll just get right into it. We are going to start today off with a couple of thriller titles as well as a mystery. First up is Novel Threat. Former CIA officer and acclaimed suspense author Tracy Hunter Abramson launches her new pen and dagger thriller series with Novel Threat, a fast-paced story in which two CIA operatives must infiltrate a New York publishing house and unravel a series of puzzles to prevent a terrorist attack. Known for her talent in creating high-stakes, wholesome suspense, Tracy earned a starred Booklist review for her recent release, Hometown Vendetta. Tracy has written more than 45 best-selling novels and has received several awards and accolades for her work. In Library Journal's review of Novel Threat, they say, readers who like their thrills with a side of romance and fans of Ally Carter should add this to their reading list. I'm going to let Tracy tell you a little bit more about the background and some of the inspiration that went into making Novel Threat on the next slide.
Hey everyone, I'm Tracy Hunter Abramson, and I'm the author of Novel Threat. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the background of where some of the ideas came from for this book. I am former CIA, so Central Intelligence Agency. Worked there for many years, and my job was as a finance officer, which a lot of people don't really understand how integral some of those admin positions can be. So it was a lot of fun to make. One of my main characters is a finance officer. The other one is a CIA operative. So seeing the different backgrounds that people would have in these different roles was fun to play out in this story. But the other thing is that I was able to use my background with the publishing industry. My first book came out over 20 years ago. So I've over 50 books. So having been edited so many times and worked in this industry as it's evolved over the years, it was a lot of fun to really use that as a backdrop for this terrorist attack that's looming within the pages of this book. And the other thing that was a lot of fun is like my family background. I have one younger sister that I grew up with, and she has worked a lot in the entertainment industry, and she's always been very outgoing and loves to be out and do things. And in my book, there is a younger sister who's very similar. Some of the dynamics are similar. They're very close siblings, but very different in many aspects. But the entertainment industry also ends up playing an integral role of how this terrorist attack is playing out. So it was just a lot of fun. I hope everyone enjoys checking it out, and I absolutely adore this cover, but I hope what's inside the pages will thrill people as well. Have a good one.
Flames of Anarchy by Jerry Barrowman is a gripping historical thriller set during the final year of Teddy Roosevelt's presidency, when a bomb narrowly misses the president's personal railcar at Union Station. New York Senator Jason Ellis is convinced it's an assassination attempt. Pinkerton agents are unable to catch the anarchist, even when the attacks escalate against American politicians and businessmen. And the Republican National Convention in Chicago feels like the perfect location for the anarchists to strike again. Set against a backdrop of societal upheaval, the story delves into race, labor, immigration, and political corruption, capturing the rise of federal policing and America's shift from farms to heavy industry. Known for his meticulous research, Barrowman skillfully blends fact and fiction in this first installment of a new duology. And now for our mystery title. The Creme Brulee Bake Off by Rebecca Connolly came out last month. It is the first book of a brand new culinary mystery series. Booklist review of the title says, the sweet romance and the details of participating in a competitive baking show will please romance fans, those who enjoy watching the Great British Baking Show, and readers of baking-framed cozies like those by Joanne Fluke. And if you've already gotten around to reading this one, the next installment of the Claire Walker Mystery Series is set to release early 2026. Now I'm going to move on to romance. We're going to start with a couple of new proper romances and then move on to young adult. USA Today best-selling author Sarah M. Eden ventures into time travel romance with her next release, The Tides of Time. Fleeing revolutionary France, Lily Manet is swept 80 years into the future by a violent storm, landing in 1873 England, where guarded lighthouse keeper Armitage Pierce rescues her. As Lily recovers, a fragile bond forms between them, but danger from her past resurfaces, testing whether their love can bridge the boundaries of time and rewrite fate. With over 1 million copies of her historical romances sold worldwide, Eden brings her classic wit and charm into this beloved time-slip genre. The Tides of Time has received positive reviews from Publishers Weekly, Library Journal, Forward Reviews, and Booklist. Forward's review reads, "A story that celebrates profound commitments to moral justice. It unfurls in a deft manner, and its twists and crescendos are satisfying. In the alluring novel The Tides of Time, love transcends great distances and dangers." And now for another time travel read. In A Time Traveler's Masquerade, the first book in a new time travel romance series by Sean and Bessie, Isla Crawford steps into McQuivey's costume shop in present-day London and is swept back in time to 1605, where she and Lord Bancroft attempt to thwart Guy Fawkes's infamous gunpowder plot. This story combines a little fantasy with history, plenty of romance, and adventure. Sean is a USA Today best-selling author and native of Wales, who is known for her authentic European characters and settings. The Rules of Matrimony is a charming Regency romance by Annika R. Walker, who has now penned more than a dozen contemporary and historical romance novels. The story follows Ian Reynolds, a man who has sworn off marriage after witnessing his father's infidelity. However, his plans unravel when he's thrust into a fake engagement and eventual marriage to the headstrong Miss Amy Tyler to protect her from a scheming cousin and to avoid scandal. Though they vowed to keep their independence, growing affection and shared struggles soon lead Ian and Amy to wonder if their charade might be the very path to the love they've tried to resist. That brings us to the final title of our spring proper romance lineup, Whispers of Shadowbrook House by Rebecca Anderson, which is a haunting gothic romance set in a decaying Victorian mansion where ghostly violin music echoes through the halls. Devoted governess Pearl Ellicott and heir Oliver Waverley are quickly drawn together, but with societal expectations and the uncertain future of Shadowbrook House looming, they must decide if their love is strong enough to transcend their differences. Rebecca's previous Gothic romance, The Orchids of Ashthorne Hall, earned acclaim from Booklist and Historical Novel Society. Whispers of Shadowbrook House is set to release in August, right in time for fall and spooky season. To conclude our romance offerings, I have a couple of young adult titles. Wendy's Ever After by Julie Wright is coming this summer. In this enchanting sequel to the beloved Peter Pan classic, Wendy Darling's past in Neverland collides with her hopes for the future as she falls for Captain Hook's charming nephew. Wholesome, lighthearted, and full of adventure and romance, this story will take readers back to the wonders of Neverland and captivate fans of fairy tales and happily ever afters. This is Julie's third young adult novel. Her recent release, The Art of Us, earned positive reviews from Kirkus, Publishers Weekly, and Booklist, and was chosen as a Junior Library Guild Gold Standard selection. We also have a paperback re-release of Fun Fact I Love You coming out. It's actually out now, which is a contemporary high school romance that we released last year. This paperback edition will feature a brand new cover as well as sprayed and stenciled edges. It will also have a never before published bonus chapter. And finally, onto our cookbook title. Our proper romance collection has grown so much over the past decade. It now boasts over 60 historical romance novels with 25-starred reviews. And now, for the first time, we have a proper romance cookbook, Whisk Me Away by Michelle Wright. Whisk Me Away brings this beloved collection to life with over 80 delectable recipes inspired by proper romance novels, along with insights into historical games, fashion, and etiquette. With categories spanning Regency, Victorian, steampunk, Western, and more, it's perfect for creating anything from a cozy dinner for two to a festive gathering with friends. All right, that's all I have for you. Thanks again for watching, and a big thanks to Booklist for hosting us today. For complete information of these and all other Shadow Mountain titles, you can visit the Shadow Mountain Edelweiss page. And of course, I'm always happy to answer questions. My email address is there on the screen. I hope that everyone has a great week. Happy reading!
Thank you so much, Bree. Finally, we'll hear from Annie Mazes. Annie is the Associate Director of Library Marketing at Hachette. Some of her favorite books include The Orphan Master's Son and Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast. Thanks for joining us, Annie.
Thank you so much, Susan and Taylor and Grace and Booklist for having us. Thank you all for tuning in to the end. I appreciate you. Also, side note, Union Square is now part of Hachette, which makes me super happy because they publish Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast, a wonderful kids series that I highly recommend. This is my contact information. If you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch. Next up, first book I'm going to talk about is The Devil Three Times. In this debut novel, you follow 8 generations of a Black family in Tennessee as they are repeatedly visited by the devil. For readers of Homegoing, Beloved, The Water Dancer, it's based on the author's own family and hometown history. There is a lot to discuss in here. Very good choice for book clubs. Next is Kiss Me Maybe. We've got some romance here. So librarian Angela Gutierrez has never been kissed, and when she goes viral for coming out, she decides to use her newfound fame to get her first kiss with the help of a very sexy bartender. It's in the same universe as Gabrielle Gamez's delightful debut novel, The Next Best Fling. And Gabriella is herself a library worker. Can't Get Enough. This is the next in the Kennedy Ryan Skyland series. Kennedy is determined to write for women from all walks of life, emphasizing their own agency. This is great for readers of Colleen Hoover or Tia Williams. And Rose in Chains is by USA Today author, best-selling author Julie Soto. She crafts another lush romantic fantasy that's filled with intrigue, magic, and irresistible enemies to lovers trope. Perfect for fans of Carissa Broadbent, Carrie Mascalco. Next is Blonde Dust. Blonde Dust is a very moving, redemptive novel. It's about the unexpected friendship between Marilyn Monroe and a young maid whose life will be forever changed after the week she spends with Marilyn Monroe. It's from the New York Times bestselling author of Sarah's Key. Next is Gasians by Mike Corrado. So I know that we love and adore Mike Corrado for his children's, big fan of Lil Elliot here in my house. This is a very adult themed novel, so just be aware of that when you are talking about it. But Mike Corrado, author of the YA graphic novel Flamer, this is a heartwarming adult graphic novel. It's his debut adult title. It follows 4 gay Asians navigating love, identity, friendship. It's about the wonderful joy and celebration of chosen queer family. Next is, we have some fantasy titles. The Night and the Moth. I was probably overly ambitious in the number of titles that I chose to talk about today, so I am going a little quick. But my apologies for that. There's just so much to talk about. So The Night and the Moth is an epic romantic start of a new series from the best-selling author Rachel Gillig. Features a prophetess who is forced on an impossible quest with the one infuriating knight whose future is beyond her sight. Which would be really unfortunate, except he's super swoony and devilishly handsome. This is perfect for fans of Jennifer L. Armentrout and Leigh Bardugo. 6 Wild Crowns is from a major new voice in epic fantasy. It's a breathtaking epic fantasy of dragons, courtly intrigue, sapphic yearning, and a very unique depiction of the wives of Henry VIII. The Undercutting of Rosie and Adam. This is from the author of The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy, which was on the ALA reading list, the winner of that list. This comes a new heartwarming fantasy rom-com with an opposites attract twist, set in the delightful donut and dragon-filled world of Tanria. This is a standalone novel, even though it will be familiar to readers who recognize that. In the veins of The Drowning, I don't read a lot of romantasy, but this was very fun for me. This is about sirens, which I think are having a moment. This is a romantasy debut, the start of a series about a threatened siren who forges a bond with a very brooding, self-righteous king in order to escape the horrible, awful king who raised her, for fans of One Dark Window and For the Wolf. Next up, we have The Ghost of Gwendolyn Montgomery. If you're more into like the inner workings of publishing, this is from Legacy Lit, which usually publishes a lot of wonderful nonfiction. This is their first novel, which is very exciting. Gwendolyn is busy being the best publicist in New York City. She's not interested in being the only person who can stop the spirit world from breaching the mortal world and wreaking havoc on everyone. Too bad there's no other option because she is remarkably powerful. The Ghost of Gwendolyn Montgomery is a very funny, mystical adventure, perfect for readers of Sylvia Moreno Garcia and Zakiya Delilah Harris. Next is The Lost Masterpiece by library fave B.A. Shapiro, the best-selling author of The Art Forger. This is another riveting art history thriller, something that she really is a master at. It features the anguished and underappreciated impressionist artist Bertha Morisot. I recommend Morisot. She's French, so probably Morisot. I recommend doing a little bit of Wikipedia diving on her. I did that, and she was contemporaries with Monet and Cézanne and Degas. Definitely should be more well-known than she is, but this is B.A. Shapiro doing what she does best, tremendously researched, really interesting look into art history with a thriller aspect. Next is The Silver State, a gripping and thought-provoking legal thriller that asks, what if justice isn't something the legal system is truly capable of? A once idealistic public defender in Reno is haunted by a murder case from a decade earlier. This is for readers of Scott Turo's Presumed Innocent and Brian Stevenson's Just Mercy. Next up, we have some mystery thrillers. Night Watcher is in the vein of Lisa Jewell's None of This Is True. Author Daphne Wollstonecraft, host of the popular true crime podcast Going West, pens her chilling debut thriller, which follows a late-night call-in radio host who is fearful that serial killer she escaped from years ago, called the Hiding Man, has resurfaced and is out to get her. And we are very excited at Hachette to welcome Lisa Scottolini to our list, #1 best-selling author. In her latest, The Unraveling of Julia, she crafts a riveting psychological thriller in which a troubled young widow inherits a mysterious Tuscan estate shrouded in secrets, for fans of Daisy Darker or Lucy Foley's The Hunting Party. Next is Salt Bones, a book that I really, really like. I know you're not supposed to like be favorite, whatever. Malamar Vera Cruz has raised 2 daughters. She's worked very hard. She has tried to forget the painful, unexplained disappearance of her sister years ago. But when another local girl goes missing, and it very much mirrors what happened to her own sister, Mal is plunged into a fresh yet familiar nightmare. Her narrative is joined by the voices of her 2 daughters in this book, love multiple perspectives, all 3 of whom must work out what has actually happened to these young women. This combines elements of Latina and indigenous culture, family drama, lots of mystery. It's for fans of Mexican Gothic or Ramona Emerson's Shudder. Next is A Dog in Georgia, Georgia the country. Amy Webb was a chef. Somewhere along the way, she also became a wife, a stepmother, an emergency contact, and she lost her sense of self, which is why she is currently in the Republic of Georgia on a mission to find a lost dog named Angel, and more importantly, the life's purpose she once took for granted. This is from the best-selling author of We Must Not Think of Ourselves. And my last novel, before we get to some nonfiction, is Seduction Theory, for fans of Conversations with Friends and Vladimir, which I heard just is going to become a TV show with Rachel Weisz. That sounds cool. This comes a magnetic, fresh take on marriage and loyalty. 2 married professors tiptoe towards infidelity, one physical, one emotional. Their transgressions are brought to light in a graduate student's searing thesis project. This explores timely themes of desire, jealousy, the moral dilemmas of affairs, power dynamics, so much in there for book clubs. Switching to some nonfiction with Nate Bargatze, Big Demise. Nate is one of the hottest stand-ups working today. He brings his everyman comedy to his first book in this collection of personal essays. His book is full of heart and will keep readers laughing throughout, which is something we can all use. Next is Four Mothers. In the tradition of Three Women and Hidden Valley Road, international reporter and radio producer Abigail Leonard's page-turning work blends reporting, research, and history as it follows four women: Anna from Finland, Sukasa from Japan, Sarah from the United States, and Chelsea from Kenya throughout the first year of motherhood. Next is Moral Ambitions. This is from the author of the New York Times bestselling Humankind and Utopia for Realists. It's a very bold manifesto that reveals how our conventional definitions of success are harming us and the planet, and shows how we can shift the focus from personal gain to societal benefit. It reminds us that the real measure of success lies not in what we accumulate, but what we contribute. Next is Holler. This is a beautiful graphic memoir. The next slide, if you wouldn't mind going to it, gives some examples of the artistry. It tells the story of 6 hopeful activists in Appalachia who had the courage to resist against a threat to their community. More than anything, Holler is an invitation to readers everywhere searching for their own path to activism, sending a message that no matter how small your action, it can be very impactful. Next up, we have So Many Stars, a first of its kind, deeply personal and moving oral history of a generation of trans and gender nonconforming elders of color. The anecdotes in these pages are joyful, they are heartbreaking, full of personality and wisdom, and woven together into one really immersive narrative. In the author's own words, So Many Stars shares behind-the-scenes tales of what it meant and still means to create an authentic life against the odds. And Deep House is from the National Book Critics Circle award-winning author Gay Bar. It's a pre- and post-gay marriage romance memoir that puts the landmark ruling in intimate historical context and celebrates the ingenuity, bravery, and diversity of relationships before it. And a little bit of strange, fabulous, crazy science. The Ghost Lab is an astonishing true story of wild ecosystem that paranorma profiteers and consumers that maps the trends of declining scientific literacy, trust in institutions, and the diffusion of a culture that has created space for armies of pseudoscientists to step into the minds of an increasingly credulous public. The Salmon Cannon and the Levitating Frog might be one of the best titles I've ever worked on, like literal actual title. It's not a science book that celebrates one big idea in a self-serious way. The author focuses on research that can seem kind of bananas or pointless. Bananas is very professional, absurd, but has huge payoffs for learning, offering a very unique perspective on how science works. It's very accessible, very story-driven narrative. It shows how important and exciting it can be to just let curiosity run wild. And Dinner with King Tut, from the New York Times bestselling author of The Disappearing Spoon. History often neglects the tastes and textures, sounds, smells that were an intimate part of our ancestors' lives, but a new generation of researchers is resurrecting those hidden details, pioneering an exciting new discipline called experimental archaeology, and Sam Keen is following those people around the world. This is an archaeological romp through the entire history of humankind. Something a little different, 2 more books and I'm done. My Neighbor Saw Me Naked. Annie Elliott is an amazing interior designer. This is a very cool cheat sheet on how to decorate your own home. And finally, Women of the Fairy Tale Resistance. This book is beautiful and fascinating. Jane is going to be, next slide. Jane is going to be at Library Journal's Day of Dialogue. Long before Brothers Grimm, there was a sisterhood of writers who defied the patriarchy and launched a literary craze with their feminist fairy tales. This book talks about them in detail and shares some of their original stories. That is it for me. Sorry, my time went over. Thank you so much. Please get in touch if you have any questions.
Oh, thank you so much, Annie, and a big thank you to all of today's presenters. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, title list, certificate of completion, and video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. You can also find out about the latest webinars on our social channels. Visit us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and now Blue Sky. And just a note that we are no longer on X, so please find us on those other channels for the latest Booklist news and updates. We are thrilled to announce that the digital version of Booklist Reader, the monthly Reader's Advisory magazine from the editors of Booklist, is now an ALA member benefit. Head over to our new site to start reading. And if you're not already a Booklist subscriber, you'll use your ALA membership to sign in. Membership ID to sign in, sorry. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. One more huge thank you to our panelists and to our sponsors, Sourcebooks, Simon & Schuster, Disney Publishing, Shadow Mountain, and Hachette. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.